Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Soul and Grace podcast. Hello, good afternoon, grand rising, not the toxic one. Good night, good evening. How are you doing out there, darling? How was your week? Was it good? I'm not gonna ask, was it bad? Are we staying sane in this American mess? Are you staying sane? Hopefully so, because quite honestly, the Trump administration is quite actually making a joke out of our country. But besides that, how y'all doing? How you doing in your world? Because a lot of times, you're being promoted all of this stuff or we are being promoted all of this stuff. And sometimes our reality doesn't necessarily reflect that. Now, I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone, but for majority of us, when you weigh it all out, we're not doing too bad. Donald, you need to, we're going to get into today's episode, but I just want to get this off my chest while it's on my mind. I just got to say, the YNs, if you know what I mean, if you know when I say this term, the YNs, y'all are the worst YNs ever to exist. That's all I'm going to say. Because if I was a YN, no one come for my country. Just like y'all be protecting y'all blocks, you need to protect your country. I'm gonna leave it on that note. But anyways, welcome to today's episode. As you can see, I am in my pink. I got my light. You kind of can't really see that it's red right now, but we are reflecting and trying to give off the energy of love because we are in love. This episode will be coming out in the month of love, or at least the beginning of the month of love in February. And, love is in the air. A lot of more hate than love, but outside of that, I want you to leave this episode feeling more in love with yourself, or, moving towards falling in love with yourself just a little bit more than last week. So but before we get started, you guys know I've been trying to do the new thing of starting with my handy dandy self-love deck. Quick spill, this is by the company We Are Not Really Strangers. They have another deck that is like fun to play with new friends, new partners, new whoever, but this deck is specifically tailored to you. Okay, self-love for you. So definitely go check it out. I need to update this. I need to put the link to these in the link tree thing so that people could check these out. I've kind of just been gifting them to people. So we are already back to our past, which it comes with 3 different decks. It starts off with your past, your present, and your future. So I've already shuffled them, so I'm just gonna pull from there. And as you can see, these also kind of resemble they remind me of Valentine's Day because they're pink and red. But yeah, level 1, let's commence. So today's question is, for the past, when was a time you chose yourself? God, I feel the smart Alec in me wants to say all the time, but when was the time I chose myself? In the past, I would say one of the times I chose myself in the past was definitely me deciding to leave family, leave my support system and go to California. Woo. California, my heart is with you. I have friends, families, everything. The LA fires and just all of that stuff that was going on. Wow. Oh, God, it's been a minute, but my heart really goes out to LA because I don't want to get too in depth into it because, again, this is something like I didn't expect for it to be so close to my heart, but when I started finding out more about what areas were affected, so y'all know my house burned down. My old place burned down in LA. So, yeah, that had me reflecting a lot. It had me reflecting a lot. Just simply because, and the fact that I have friends in those areas, they were able to evacuate and they're okay. But that was only like 6 years ago. I've been in Colorado for 6 years. But the fact that I could have been there, and even if I wasn't, like I wasn't a victim of, or my house didn't burn down or anything, just the stress of having to evacuate, not knowing if you need to take the warning seriously. There were a lot of like on and off. I mean, my friends were just waiting with their backpacks and stuff packed up. It's just so sad. A lot of the historical black communities and homes that were destroyed and things. I'll put some links down to where people can support these things, because it's still kind of happening or going on, and people are still gathering their lives back together after such a tragedy. But yeah, me moving to California was definitely a time that I put me first. I think that's what the card was saying. Yeah. When was the time you chose yourself? That was definitely a time I chose myself, because one, it was super brand new. I was like, my mom will probably say, "Oh, that was so random, blah blah blah." But that's also because, your parents just kind of have an idea of what you are gonna do. Oh, I feel like something. But your parents have an idea of who and what you're gonna be, and child, let my mom tell it. She wanted us all to be beauticians and in a shop all together. And while I am a huge fan of all the things beauty related, obviously, that wasn't around for me. So yeah, that was the time that Miss Danielle chose herself. Welcome back to the Solar Grace podcast. Let's go ahead and get into today's episode. Today, we're going to get into something. I thought it would be great to discuss what self-concept really is, because I have been coming across a few videos about this, and I just wanted to figure out what exactly was it. I feel like this topic is something that everyone can relate to, in the sense of like, not only with this being a podcast about self-improvement and self-discovery, it's just something that I know that we all ask ourselves, who am I? Who am I? Who am I really? Because it changes, and it definitely depends on how I'm feeling and how my day has been, or my life has been so far. If you ever felt disconnected from yourself or unsure of your identity, today's episode is for you. If you ever felt disconnected or lost and just confused about who you really are, don't worry. You're not the only one. You're not the only one at all. And we watch people figure out who they are now, thanks to social media, all the time. But who are you? Who are you really? Self-concept is the way that we see ourselves. Quick backstory, like I said, I have been seeing this what I'll say is a phrase, self-concept. I just kept seeing that. And a lot of what was coming up was women doing their mirror work, women talking about it, women talking about self-love, self-care when this is brought up. So self-concept, what exactly is that? What exactly is that? And self-concept is the way we see ourselves, how we shape our lives day to day, from the choices that we make, the way we love, and the way we show up to the outside world. But what if you never really explored that side of you, right? Which a lot of us have not, because we spend so much time pouring into everything else around us and not so much into ourselves. So that's why today we're going to talk about what is self-concept and what does it have to do with our self-discovery journey. And quite honestly, it has a lot to do with it. So let's go ahead and get into soul search. Today in Soul Search, we will discuss self-concept, what it is, and just go over a few examples of, I guess, like what you could do to discover more about yourself. Because again, self-concept, which I had the misunderstanding of, like, when I was seeing self-concept, I'm like, quite honestly, what is it? What is it? There are so many terms. Of course, you never hear them as a regular person unless you're like a psychologist. Like, you probably wouldn't think about these things. As I don't even know, I would just say the self-care industry and promotion. And this topic is just the topic of self-care floats around the internet. Now we are starting to see the subject of self-concept. And also, after looking into it a little bit more, I recognize, like, again, because we spend so much time pouring into everyone else but ourselves, you might even be guilt tripped into not thinking or diving deeper into who you are, let alone having the time to do so. That's really, I find that is the major thing. Like, even with friends, clients, or whatever, it really just come down to, like, people not having enough time to honor themselves and honor what they want to do, like, and all of those things. Let's start with a simple definition, or diving deeper into the definition of self-concept. And as always, y'all see me looking down. This ain't no script. These are notes, because I give facts on this podcast, okay? And also, this is going to be a good one or a good episode to make sure that you head over to the YouTube and watch, so that you can actually look in the description box and check out those resources that I will have tagged below this video. Also, before we move forward, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Okay, that comment box ain't there for nothing. I want to hear how y'all feel about the show, how y'all doing, and all of the things for my future listeners. And also, share it with somebody right now in this world, with all of this fear mongering and fake news, all the rage bait. That's really what it is, rage bait. Somebody needs to hear what we're talking about over here, or it's not even the distraction, but they need to focus on something else. And what else is better than focusing on yourself? Nothing. So yeah, self-concept. Self-concept is the mental picture we hold of ourselves, and that is down to, like, our strengths, our weaknesses, beliefs, personality, and the roles we play. Here's the thing, especially for women, we have built self-concept based on what we want to be viewed as, or like, we put a lot of power behind believing that who we show up as in our life, in all those different aspects. So if you're a mom, or you're a teacher, you're a doctor, you're everything but focusing on yourself. So a lot of times we build the idea of who we are based on our duties to the outside world. That can cause a lot of confusion. And sometimes maybe you've been a strong one in your family, the caretaker, in your friend group, the one I know I can always call. Or you're the reliable one at work. We all been there. The one that everybody hits up when it's lunchtime, and they know that you're the only one that either have a car, you're the one that's going to leave to go pick up lunch, and they put you on duty to become the freaking DoorDash person for your team or whatever, all of those things. But what happens when you strip away those labels? Who are you? Who are you? Is that from Alice in Wonderland? Who are you? Who are you outside of what others need you to be? Who are you outside of who others need you to be? Take a minute, and if you can, say it out loud to yourself. Who are you? Who do you think you are? Before we dive deeper into Soul Search, who do you think you are, or who are you? I did not do my homework enough to look on Instagram, because I don't really be on there. I did look through TikTok. When you search self-concept on TikTok, there are a few different things that come up. You may see some discussing what it is, like I said earlier. You may see some documenting themselves doing their mirror work. And if you aren't familiar with what mirror work is, it is, in short, going to the mirror and And I don't know, you can either speak life into yourself, say some positive things about yourself, affirmations, but it's you locking in and looking into your future self or your higher self, whichever one you want to call it, and just speaking life into yourself until you believe it. You may also find videos about self-love and self-care that also follow or are under that same search. And while all of these things are relevant to the topic, I want you to understand that self-concept is more of like a comprehensive evaluation of yourself. Whatever you see everybody else doing or talking about when it comes to self-concept, take it lightly because your version of self-concept is going to be different from theirs. So yeah, let's talk about that. Self-concept is largely based on how a person sees themselves and values themselves and thinks about themselves and feels about themselves. While everyone's version of self-concept is different, there are some characteristics that all of us have in common when it comes to the topic of self-concept. A few of those, at least 6 of them that I noted down, are like, it displays uniquely to each individual, wherever you are. My self-concept is not going to be the same as yours, obviously. Now, what we do to get to that, like to get to those different realizations and let's see, like as we unlock different things, or what we use to unlock the layers of ourselves, that might be the same. Like the different exercises and affirmations and stuff like that, that could be the same, but it's unique. It's unique to me, it's unique to you, it's unique to your best friend, your cousin, your sister, your mother. It's like very different. Number 2 is it varies from very positive to very negative. Sometimes the reflections and messages that come through the exercises, it's not always going to make you feel happy and confident about what's coming up out of there or coming up out of you, right? And that's okay too, because again, when you reflect, you can evolve. When you reflect and you can tackle and figure out why, you can evolve. And evolving, I don't want to say it leads you to like a self-concept, but it's like it's a part of your self-concept. Number 3 is like it carries emotional, intellectual, and functional dimensions. Again, we're reflecting, and my emotional and my intellectual are going to be different than yours, and that's okay. Now, next is it changes with the context, because again, we all don't live the same lives. Our self-discovery journeys are all fueled by different things, even though it might seem like, yeah, the same stuff is happening to you. Just for example, you and me, remember that the context can be a little different. 5 is it changes over time. I believe that it's going to change over time, especially after just looking into this and reading a couple different articles and studies and stuff that are available on the internet. Changing over time, that's the evolving. So we're not going to be afraid of that. And number 6 is influence the individual's life. The more you unlock while trying to discover what your self-concept is, it should influence your life in a great way, influence it to change, influence you to change, and to stay on the path of change. I did note one of the psychologists that kept coming up under literally every study that I looked into. It was from 1990 or something, somewhere in the 90s. His name is Carl Rogers. All of this information will be in the description box below, so I'm sorry if I'm moving past it, but y'all know I always tell you, you have to go look into these things yourself. He is a prominent psychologist, and self-concept compromises 3 core components. These are the 3 that he listed: self-image, self-worth, or your self-esteem, and then your ideal self. For number 1, for self-image. Now, when we talk about self-image, this is how you view yourselves, or we view ourselves, and it might not always align with your reality, and that's okay. It's our personal view of our traits and characteristics. Number 2, with that being self-worth and or self-esteem. This reflects the value we place on ourselves. It's an assessment of our own worthiness and plays a crucial role in our overall self-concept. I feel like number 2 is just so important because I do believe a lot of people are easily influenced, and we have no idea, like, we have no value of ourselves. So that's how we end up in not the best situation sometimes, or we're like, we don't value how we feel about things or value our thoughts about things. You gotta value your own opinion. And if you do have low self-esteem, that's hard to really do. You're gonna be easily influenced every time. Number 3, ideal self. This represents the person we aspire to be. Who do you want to be? Have you figured that out yet? It's our vision of our best self, encompassing our goals, ambitions, and desires, which is also something that's like, if I have low self-esteem, I might not be chasing my own desires. I might be chasing someone attached to me, or someone's that is attached to me in whatever way you want to think about that. Friends, families, or your partner, husband, wife, whoever. What are your goals? What are your goals? I can't say it's okay if those things change. And if you're young and you're listening to this, and by young, I mean like 16, 17, 18, 19, if you don't know, it's okay. I really do think that they ask us and put too much pressure on us right out of school, like, or right when you hit 14, 15, you're like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? Live, first of all, because I just want to make sure I make it up out of here. But I don't know what I want to do. And even me, like, I'm 29. I graduated at 17, going on 18. I think I knew what I liked at that age, but I had no idea what I wanted to do compared to now. And I can guarantee you, back then, I was not thinking about a doula. I didn't even know what a doula was. I didn't know what, like, I always saw myself like I wanted to go to college and get whatever highest degree and fine arts and do all of that stuff and all of the things. But now that I look back, it's a lot. There's so many things that I want to do. I'm just like, why can't everything just have like some type of 1 to 2 year certification I can get, so I don't have to spend so much time to get a degree, to then being $200,000 of debt, then go, like, I just wish they gave people more time. And then you can't go to college whenever you want to, but if they just encourage you to do some other studies or trades to figure out what else you want to do, that would be better. But are your goals, your ambitions, and your desires, what do you want, baby? What do you want? Do you know what you want? Do you know what you want? Do I know what I want? Depending on the day. But as far as long term, yes, I do know what I want. Now, right in this moment, no, I don't know what I want. So please don't ask me. Self-love isn't static. It evolves over our lives. And that makes sense, right? Because over time, you grow. You don't stay the same person. You evolve. We are trying to evolve. We do not want to be the same person we were 3 years ago. Physically, maybe you be the same person, but mentally up here, no. But it evolves throughout our lives. It's heavily influenced by our experiences, especially during childhood and adolescence. I will also put in the description box some of the articles that I came across, because when you hear self-concept, you're never thinking about this process starting as a child, but there's so much good information online about self-concept and how it starts as an infant. Quite honestly, it starts around the time, like, when you're 2, you're already trying to figure out, who am I, a little bit. You might not know that you're out the womb and you're a whole separate body from your mom and dad, but it starts so early on. And then I could just go on a tangent about it, but I won't go too much into that. But yeah, I'll put the links in the description box. Social interactions, cultural context, and environmental factors all play roles in shaping how we perceive ourselves. I am currently finishing up a program called The Science of Well-Being, and you can also buy this book, or you can listen to the podcast, The Happy Lab, which I've never listened to the podcast, but this course that I'm working on introduced this whole thing to me. And this doctor, in one of the parts, she shares like these studies about the effects of social media and the effects that it has on us. I definitely can believe that All of these things play a huge part in how we perceive ourselves, because we are constantly being promoted something, whether it's what to buy, who to be, how to be, what to be. It's all being marketed to us. So I can definitely see how that could be confusing. Now, for women, societal expectations definitely play a big role. They play a big role. And also cultural narratives, just based off, like, I would imagine that a Muslim woman, a Catholic woman, or something like that, they have a completely different mindset and idea of what self-concept is all the way. They can really impact us in some ways, and sometimes lead into a lot of internal conflict, a lot of built up anger, a lot of lost self-discovery, a lot of late self-discovery. Before we move forward, there is one thing that I wanted to touch on, because I did mention self-esteem. Now, I wanted to go over the differences between self-concept and self-esteem. While self-concept is our overall perception of who we are and how we value ourselves, a woman might recognize her strengths and weaknesses, which is this is the self-concept part, but still struggle with feelings of worthiness, and that's where your self-esteem comes in. Now, just because you feel like you've mastered the self-concept does not necessarily mean that your self-esteem just shot up and you are happier, you're better, and just overall feeling 100% or 1,000% about who you are. It don't mean that at all. It don't mean that at all. If you can understand the difference between self-esteem and self-concept, it will make it a lot easier on not only your process of self-discovery, but your process when processing those reflections and those things that come up, or whatever shows up from you diving deeper into who and what you are and who you want to be in the future. Now, I know some people, especially if you've been listening for a while, or for future listeners who may listen to this and they haven't listened to past episodes, you're like, girl, I thought this was all about self-discovery. And they all tie together. It all ties together. It's all self-concept is under self-discovery. Now, there might be some psychologists or something that might feel like they want to tweak what I just said, but I do believe that it's under. And by under, there's no main order, but like if I had a bubble chart or diagram or something, it's there. It's there. Not that it holds weight over anything, but it's right up under self-discovery, or the self-discovery wing. We spent the whole first season talking about self-discovery, so definitely go check out some of those things. Definitely start back at soul versus ego. That was a great episode. And also, wow, I didn't even put this down on my notes, but really just looking and reflecting back on it really quick, it's like soul is definitely self-concept, right? Because it's who we are, our values, and all of those things. And then ego is self-esteem. Ego is self-esteem simply because of the fact I love when the fireworks go off mid-recording. Don't you just love that? Wow. Is ego self-esteem? Because self-esteem will make or break you, just like your ego. It will. It really will. It's important to note that all areas of self-concept are examples of you discovering yourself. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit more about the self-discovery process. And I wanted to talk about self-discovery a little bit more deeper, or a little bit more in depth, beyond journaling and god dang affirmations, because I promise you, when you look up self-discovery, you look up self-care, you look up self-love, the number 3 things that always come up are journaling, affirmations, and meditation. And these things definitely work, and I believe in all of them, but there has to be other ways to reflect and really just dive deep into the self-discovery process. If you ever Google these things, like I said, the usual advice is start journaling, say affirmations, and practice self-care. But if I am new to the world of self-discovery, what the hell is that? And do it really work? Does it really work? These are great, but I found some things or ways that we could dive a little bit deeper and reconnect with ourselves in other meaningful ways than simply journaling, meditating, and what I forget, affirmations and all of the things. What are some ways you can reconnect with yourself? Now, number one, this is not necessarily a thing, but more of a prompt that you can use, and that is, who was I before? And this is like a reflection journal prompt. That was my other complaint about it, because again, when you're being told to journal, I think there are a lot of good journal prompts out there, but if I'm new to this, where do I start? And I think a great place to start is, who was I, or who am I? But mostly, who was I before? So during this reflection, and also I think that let's not skip over the fact that majority of us have phones and cameras and things. Maybe you film it. Maybe you do a video journal, a video diary. That way you don't get bored of writing, because I've been there before. I'm kind of there now. The podcast is a great way for me to really voice how I feel verbally and visually for myself. I mean, sometimes I just keep edits and things, or the clips that didn't make it into the episodes, because they are very refreshing and easy to watch, and just really just go back. Or I love going back on my iCloud and looking at old videos, like, oh, okay, that's how I felt. So you could do that. Back to journaling and the prompt being, who I was before. Take a moment to think about yourself before the world told you who to be. Who was that? Who are you? Who were you as a child? What did you love doing before you started worrying about productivity, responsibility, or being good enough? That is so tough, because I bet you a lot of us don't even remember. While I don't have a lot of time to get into it today, but a lot of people have blocked out like their childhood, so they don't even really know, or you're not reminded until things happen. So yeah, who were you before you had to call to somebody, or you had to start being or showing up for other people, or showing up as the person that people could need? And one of the other practices I found that I thought was pretty cool: find an old picture of yourself as a child and spend time looking at it. Ask yourself, what did this version of me love? What does she believe about the world? Or she or he. How can I bring some of that back into my life now? And that's something I actually been doing for myself, because I just love looking at myself as a child, and mostly simply because what I'm always reminded of is, like, life was so easy then. It was so easy. I don't know why I wanted to rush to grow up, because I thought everything was amazing as a grown up. What I would do to be 8 or 9 years old again for a day, I don't even know. I would imagine it would just be a good old time. Life was really good then. It's good now, but yeah, who was I before the responsibility? Who? Who? Number two, Number two, experiment with new environments. I tell you guys all the time, even if you got to do it by yourself, go do it. Sometimes our self-concept is shaped by routine. If you've been in the same circles, doing the same things, you don't even realize how much more there is to you. As someone who often reflects, like after I've left gatherings or being around a lot of people and just in the middle of a conversation or listening to the conversations that are going on around me, sometimes I never even get to bring up myself, right? Because everyone's talking about them, which is great. That's what you got friends for. Is what you go and socialize for. But there's a lot of trauma dumping sometimes versus like actually connecting, right? So it's like, you don't, like, you saw it as a good time in a moment, but when you get in the car, you're like, oh shit, well, we didn't even do nothing, because we was too busy talking about this and that and trying to make this person feel better and cheer them up, or whatever. And nothing is wrong with that, but it's just like, once you have that realization, it will change your outlook on socializing and putting yourself in different environments. Because I know I always have the conflicted thoughts of like, do I need to change who I'm around, or do I need to just make it known to everybody, like, hey, let's get together and actually have a good time. Let's not get together and talk about all the bad things going on. We know they going on. Let's vent, or let's find another time to have that come together moment. Then when we headed to the movies to go do something, or when we're at dinner, or we having a good time and we ain't seen each other in a long time, let's not do that. Actionable practice for experimenting new environments: go somewhere new alone. That's the only medicine I got for ya. It's all I got for ya. Okay? You got to do it by yourself, because there's so much power in being alone. And I say it all the time. It is amazing to be, I want to give so many different examples, but like, I'll just use dinner as an example. It is amazing to be at dinner and not to pick a restaurant out that you want to go to. You don't have to make sure people like it, it's accessible, or it's in the like, you don't have to consider anything else but how you feel about where you going. That's amazing. Go somewhere alone. That could be a class. If you're still trying to keep up with New Year's resolutions, get you a class pass so you can go try a new class. Go to a museum. I don't know about other cities all the way, but a lot of them offer a lot of free days. Colorado has a lot of freaking free days. So it gives you, and every other resident here, time to explore what's available and, test everything out. But go do that. A cultural event, a neighborhood event, community event, try it out. Your apartment's hosting some happy hour or something for a few hours. Even if you just go for 20 to 30 minutes, you did something new and you did it by yourself. So you'll probably want to do it again. That's how I feel when I do something new alone. But yeah, how do you feel in that space? Do you feel drawn to something unexpected, or did you hate it? And you could hate it. Or maybe it could spark your interest. Who knows? And this can help you discover all types of layers of yourself, and really just challenge, especially if you're someone who might struggle with courage and all of the things. Get out there. Get you a little membership, or ask for a membership for your birthday or something, somewhere new. Your friends don't have to go. Don't let your friends tell you it's stupid. Don't let your friends tell you it's lame. Don't let your friends tell you, oh, I'm not interested in that. Because if you're interested, that's all that matters. If you are interested, that is all that matters. Number 3. This is absolutely my favorite. Number 3. The no obligation day. Pick a day where you have no obligations. You have no responsibility. I know that is hard, but for a lot of us, that is the weekend. And I also know there's someone screaming at me right now from the other side of the computer, phone, laptop, iPad. What do you mean? Even on the weekends, I'm doing stuff for me. You got time. Figure out how to slide in some time for you to have no obligations. Nothing to call on you, nothing to do, nobody that needs you, wants you, desires you, anything. Pick a day where you are dedicated to yourself, or something, you're about something that only pours into you. Many women define themselves by what they do for others. As a mom, guilty. Not really guilty, but yeah, I'm not guilty of that, because that was just one thing I was super passionate about from the beginning. Not losing myself in that, because I'm not just a mom. I'm also not just a doula. I'm also not just a herbalist. I am Danielle. That's who I am. That's what I want to pour more into. And women, we just have that so bad, because we have so much to balance. And it's great. We do a damn good job at it. That is not who we are. So we have to make our lives about something else. And the reason we have to do it is because nobody else is going to do it for us. And even for men that may listen to this podcast, nobody's going to do it for you either. So you got to make yourself the first priority and your first obligation, first and foremost. So something I wanted to, I'm so passionate about this. I got like a little attitude, I swear, because we just do so much, especially women. Right now, I'm just talking about women. We do so much, we balance so much, and we pour. But don't let us want to focus any amount of time and energy into ourselves, because no. Then I'm self-centered. Then I'm a bitch. Then I don't care about nobody else but myself. And that is not the truth. That is not the truth. Because if you don't prioritize yourself, how can you pour into all of those areas of your life or whoever else you're pouring into in a healthy way, in a positive way, and in a balanced way? A lot of times you just got a lot of pent up anger and resentment because you don't have no time for yourself. For the moms, especially the moms, they don't be having time to even bathe, brush their teeth, whatever, but they're doing everything else. Everything else. Find some time to have a no obligation day. Designate a day where you have no obligations to anyone else, not as a partner, mother, friend, employee. Use them vacation days. You don't have to go to Mexico for you to use a vacation day. You don't even really got to go out of town. And that's your business. That's your business. Let me look at the camera. That's your business. Don't nobody need to ask, okay? You worked hard for those days, those vacation days. On this day, you make every decision based on what you want, okay? So I know somebody's yelling for, like, I can't even do that. What do you mean? I'm a mom. I'm a single mom. Those are the things that I hear the most. So that's why it's coming up. That's why it's coming up for me. Or those are the first things that are coming to my mind. All of the things. On this day, it's all about you. It's all about you. And again, what do you notice? Like, how do you feel? What do you notice about you being able to have this day to yourself? Shit, maybe maybe you don't even think that much on this day, okay? You can sleep this day away because it could feel so weird. I know anytime I don't have a bunch of stuff to do, I'm kind of just like, well, I guess I'll go mop. I guess I'll go organize my closet or something. Sometimes it's hard figuring out what to do with yourself when you get that time. It's also okay for you to rest and not do anything. If you have a lot of things to do, just enjoy that time with you. I'm not even saying you need to meditate, do all of those things, blah, 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 blah. Because I do feel like that's so unrealistic. Like, you telling me you want me to work while I'm trying to relax? Yeah. Sometimes it's just simply resting. If you're not no obligation day is just simply you resting, you're doing great, sweetie. You're doing amazing. You know, you really are doing amazing if you can just honor that one thing on this list. You don't do nothing else and you just give yourself a no obligation day. You are all right with me. But number 4, so body-based discovery or body-based self-discovery. Self-concept isn't just about the mental, it's the physical too. Many of us live in our heads, disconnected from our bodies. And the reason why we live in our heads and disconnected from our bodies is because we're on this hamster wheel called life, a routine, structure, which you need routine and structure, but it becomes very, very repetitive, and if I'm being honest, very discouraging for some. And that's how you get, your favorite entrepreneur, your favorite CEO, or whoever that's unhappy because they're in this hamster wheel called life and they don't get time to honor themselves outside of that wheel. And that could be very discouraging. But reconnecting with your body can shift your self-concept in surprising ways. It can rewire your mind. It can rewire your life, reconnect you to life. Life is not that hamster wheel. It's not that same routine. It's great that we master those things and we do those things, but there's so much life outside of the hamster wheel that for some of us is very important. But hopefully you hear what I'm saying. But one of the practices I wanted to share as far as body-based self-discovery goes, try something that makes you feel embodied. Usually that's moving your body or just freeing yourself of that wheel. Dancing, stretching, swimming, or even just walking barefoot in the grass if you're somewhere where it's pretty warm right now. Because it is winter. I am aware of that. But somehow, find you somewhere to just free your feet, your mind, your body indoors somewhere. If you're somewhere and it's cold and snowing and all of the things, again, notice how your body responds. How does your body respond when you allow it to move freely without judgment? The thing about dancing and stretching and stuff is our bodies withhold so much trauma, or they withhold trauma in our hips, especially. So you got to move them things. You got to move them, stretch them, work them out. I know the older I get, every time I got to stretch at least 3 to 4 times a day. Because if I do not, no, I don't know what's going on. I snap, crackle, and pop mostly. You got to do it. Movement is so good. Like every time I move my body, if I just feel stagnant, or like a little stagnant, or like after you eat a big meal and it's like, oh, the hour that went by and I'm still just feeling stuck. Move. I love to turn on music and just dance a little bit, even if it's just like, it's not even dancing. A lot of times it's just like singing helps with that too, and that's some type of movement in a way if you think about it. But yeah, try one of the 4 things out first, at least 2 of them. Figure out, or definitely address, or reflect on, who was I before I had to, or before I had all of these different responsibilities and things, before my job, before my family, before my husband, before my partner, before my whatever, before I decided I wanted to go back to school, before I decided whatever. Who are you before that? Or who were you before that? Now, as we walk into Queen and the end of the show, I wanted to discuss releasing the pressure to figure out who you are, or at least define yourself, because I don't really see that as much, or not in the space of women. I see that more with women who are in the postpartum space, or they've spent a lot of time dedicating their lives to someone else. We all been there. One of the biggest misconceptions about self-discovery is that it's all about finding yourself. It's all about finding yourself. I might even be guilty of discussing it in that type of way. I might be. But in reality, self is fluid, and we are always evolving. Always. Or you should be. You should be. Instead of trying to define who we are perfectly, and I think that is what social media makes us feel like, or it makes you feel like it's all, it doesn't make you feel like it's all nature, freaking rain sounds and freaking ocean sounds, and getting out into nature a few times a week or whatever, meditating, all the things. Well, all of those things better us, and they are great practices to have in your routine. It's not all about that. Think of it as a process of uncovering and exploring, or how I like to express it is like you're unlocking new layers of yourself, or levels, because you are truly leveling up, even though it may seem like, well, damn, I'm just reflecting on a lot of who I used to be. But who you used to be who you used to be has such a huge impact in who you're going to be, because again, whatever is not addressed and reflected on and changed and really, really just acknowledged, you will revert back. You will revert back, and you will keep reverting back until it kicks your ass. Excuse my language, but until it kicks your ass. And then what? Back to square one. And yes, you can get this far, you can get this far, and then have to go back this, and then only go this far. But then run into the problem again, and then I have to go back this far. If you're not watching a visual on YouTube, you're probably like, girl, I don't know where are we going? But you can easily be caught up in this. Imagine a racetrack, but the racetrack, like, you actually get sent back a lap every time. Every time. And we're just trying to avoid that. We're trying to avoid that at all costs. So uncovering, unlocking, exploring who we want to be, who we used to be, and who we are right now. Because never forget the present. I don't want to say a lot of times we look over who we are in the present, but sometimes we do. Really sitting with myself for thinking about things and making goals for myself or whatever, I forget to acknowledge where I am right now. So don't forget to do that. Don't forget to do that, because especially if you've been doing this for a long time where you're trying to learn more about yourself, 9 times out of 10, you have done some things and made some changes. Even if it's 1 to 2 changes, job well done, darling. Job well done. You're doing amazing, sweetie. You're on the right track. So don't forget where you at right now. Don't forget to honor where you are right now. Please do not. Please do not. Sometimes I feel like that's my biggest fault, because I've done so much. I'm just constantly, or not constantly, but I'm thinking about where I want to be. And that's completely natural, but I'm thinking about where I want to be or who I used to be. And guess what? I'm not her anymore, which is great. I'm not her anymore. So while there are certain aspects of the past that are relevant to my self-discovery journey, it's only in the back of my mind for reflection, not to hunt me or anything, but to motivate me, for reflection, to motivate me as lessons, little I say notes, little sticky notes in my mind of what not to do, the examples of what not to do, who not to be, and also motivation for, hey, these are the things that I really, really want to change. What if the goal wasn't to figure it all out, but what if it was just to simply stay curious of who you could be, or what you can be, or what you're becoming? What if you thought about it in that sense? It would really change a lot of our views on self-discovery, um, the views on even going down the self-discovery path, because I know a lot of women are afraid of self-discovery, self-care, self-love, because they see it as being viewed as a bad thing, and it's not. It's not. You should not be getting married, or I'll just say you should not be getting married if you have not figured out or took some time to love on yourself, to figure out what you like, love, what you want out of life. Because if you haven't reflected on who you are, how do you know what you want from somebody else? And I find that we rarely do that, because especially women from a young age, I don't think if you have a mom or you got a dad that pushed you to discover more about yourself and put yourself over any other person that came into your life as a love interest, a friend, or whatever it is, I'm happy for you, because a lot of us did not have that. And it's not that it makes our parents good or bad, but to have an elder or a parent that acknowledges any type of self-development and growth and improvement before putting yourself out into the world blindly, really, to the dating world, they are wise. And that is a very trustworthy, loving, caring person, and they love you. They love you like no other. Because if you do not know not if you don't know, but if you don't love yourself, you literally cannot love anyone else. And even if it feels like it in the beginning, there will be a time where it comes and you have to reevaluate what self-love is from your perspective. But I don't want to get too much in that. Don't be hopping into that. And even with right now, Valentine's Day is around the corner. I think it's just too much in the world right now that people are actually focusing on it right now. Not saying that it's eliminating the holiday and the meaning of it, but I really do think we got too many other serious things to worry about than who's gonna be your Valentine right now, quite honestly. if you don't have a Valentine, who cares about your Valentine? Quite honestly, who cares? Because you need to love yourself first, and you need to be your own Valentine. I'll leave on that note, okay? So I do not play. I'm trying to tell you, I do not play. I do not want y'all to go that route. I really don't. I don't. There's no peace on the route of love without self love. There is none. And it will always start off good. But as soon as that first argument happens, that first disagreement, hear me out. I'm not against it. But without your self discovery and then hopping into the love thing, run away, love, run away, love, run away, love. You don't want to end up like that, man. But yeah, if you're new to self discovery, be patient with yourself. Be very patient, okay? This is probably super new. It's probably going to bring up a lot of big feelings. Big but valid feelings, okay? Big but valid. The more you explore, the more you'll see that you are just, or you are not just one thing. We're constantly evolving, like I said earlier. And actually, you're a very multifaceted, multifaceted being. Quite honestly, there's so many layers and so many special things about you. Some of these things you might not even know yet. And that's why you need to get on your self-discovery Zoom. Get on your Zoom. You got to give yourself grace. You got to give yourself grace and space to grow. You really do it. Sometimes that's just so hard, especially when you're in a rush and you're trying to rush things. And a lot of times when you're reflecting, it does not feel like growth because, again, a lot of big feelings, a lot of big emotions, a lot of things just really come up out of there, and it feels like a wrecking ball is knocking you out over and over and over again. But it's not really knocking you out. It's knocking out all the old things, all the old you, all the past, all of these things that hurt you up until this point. If it's stuff that hurt you or things that, you need to just confront and get up out of there. Just wrecking all of that stuff up out of you. So yeah, give yourself space to grow, shift, change. And if you want to dive into the self-concept a little bit more, like I said, check the description box out because I'll share links, and I'll also share a link to like one of the exercises I found on a thing that I'm gonna do. So that could be pretty fun. I don't know if y'all want me to come back and share that, but I could share it in a later episode. It might be later in February, or it might be released later in February, but hey, I'll follow back up. Don't just go to TikTok or YouTube. YouTube might have some more educational videos on the topic, but don't just go to Instagram or TikTok and type in self-concept and then do all of the things like that. Or don't even go ask your homegirl about it, because she probably ain't never even thought about taking no self-discovery journey, quite honestly. Sometimes we hold our friends to these higher standards, and then like when we ask them about stuff and they don't have an answer, some we like kind of a little bit let down, a little disappointed in the response we got. But that's because, again, especially when it comes to self-concept, everybody's self-concept is going to look very different. Everybody's self-discovery journey is going to look a little bit different too. Excuse me. But yeah, we've reached the end of today's episode. God, self-concept. How do y'all feel about it? How does it make you nervous? This is for the person, maybe a new listener, or someone new to the self-discovery realm. Does self-discovery make you nervous? I really genuinely want to know. And why does it make you nervous? I'm not going to judge you. I just really want to understand, I'm interested in finding out who feels very confident in starting their self-discovery journey or being on their self-discovery journey, or if you've already started it, how are you feeling right now? Where are you at with your self-discovery journey? Does it make you feel good, or does it make you feel like I'm ready to tap out at any point. And actually, I didn't, you know what? I don't want to know more about myself because actually, I scared the hell out of myself. Yeah, I want to know though. I really am interested. But it's time to close out the show. Now, I just want to remind you guys, all the resources and things regarding self-concept will be in the description box. They will be in the description box. Please go check them out. Go read it. Go get a little bit more information about what self-concept is, different practices you can try out, just different things, different ideas. Check out some of the psychologists that are tagged in these articles and the references and things like that, because it is very informative. And I don't ever come on my show and talk about things that I don't look into and back them up. So yeah, don't let my beautiful work go to waste, okay? Yeah, thanks for spending time with me this episode. And if it resonated with you, make sure to share it with somebody that you feel might need it or interested in starting their self-discovery journey. Until next time, keep exploring who you are. Please never stop exploring who you are. Okay? Please. I'll see you next week.